Welcome, coffee enthusiasts, to First Crack's YouTube channel. In this video, I am interviewing a very dear friend of my wife and I's, Robby Little. We have known Robby and her husband Bob for 19 years, met them in 2006, and just became very close quickly. And we've watched her walk, and just recently, here in 2025, they came to visit us, and Robby, we have her book. My wife read her book, and then I read her book right the night before doing this interview. It's a nice, simple, quick read. Gets right to the point. She's an adopted child, and her book is A Chosen Child. And she shares with us in this interview struggles that she had, but then also receiving freedom from this. And she touches on the adoption. She touches on the orphan spirit. And so I just encourage you to listen. And if you like this video, give us a like. And if you like the content, I'm always interviewing different businesses and different subject matter. Some are humorous, some are not. And you can just subscribe and follow what I'm doing here. So with that, thank you for tuning in. And remember, get your fix. All right, so roll it. So the book that you wrote is entitled A Chosen Child. So this book is about your true life experience of being an adopted child.
Yes.
And from it, you had something you wanted to share and tell the world.
Correct.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Well, adopted children actually, I can't speak for all of them, but many of them are searching for identity. And this was my search, was through my book, my process of looking for identity. Mm-hmm. I understood that I was a child of God, so there was that identity, but there was also a part of me that was wanting natural identity. Mm-hmm. When I look in the mirror, who do I look like? And what traits do I have, and from whom? And there's a lot of those kind of questions that I grew up with, and mm-hmm. I'm wondering, because when you're not adopted, you see and learn about all these things because it's a natural progression of growing up in a family of origin. Mm-hmm. So that was my search and has been my heart for many years. Now, the title, Chosen Child, is something my parents told my sister and I, that we were adopted, but it was because they chose us. Mm. Out of all the children they could have chosen, they chose us. So therefore they called us chosen children. And that always made me feel very special. Yeah. Very special, very wanted. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because in spite of being adopted into a loving family, there is also that opportunity for rejection to come in. Mm-hmm. Well, why was I adopted in the first place? And these kind of questions. And many adopted people want to know oftentimes and actually have a right to know.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Mm-hmm. And one of the chapters you have in here, I really love the titles of your chapters. I'm just gonna like rattle some of them off. They're really succinct and just how they flow, powerful. Adoption, a beautiful gift. Who am I? Divine appointment, a chosen child. Rejection. Pain, transforming your heart, truth, your identity, your true identity, sonship, which I want to really have you touch on, and thankful. Really love these chapter titles. But in chapter 8 in truth, I'm going to go to that because there's a very short paragraph I want to just read here. The saying goes that home is where the heart is. See, I'm going to cry. But for some adopted people, they instinctively may feel or know that home is somewhere else. They were meant to originally belong to another family. It is a longing wrapped up in a homesick feeling. So I know we were talking last night, we were visiting and talking about the content of the book. And you were sharing that, or I was asking, was your healing prior to the book and then the book came out, or did your healing conclude through the writing of your book?
That's a good question. For me, it came through the process of writing my book. Having gone over and rewriting and adding, subtracting different things in my book, every time I would sit down to do this, there would be a lot of tears because it brought up a lot of deep-seated emotions through various different, situations that have caused me to live a certain way. And I wanted healing, but it was a process. Like everything seems to be a process, right? And God is a God of process. So at one point when I actually sat down to write, and when I didn't cry, I knew that I knew that I knew that I was healed of those wounds, those lifelong wounds.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And I think for people, I mean, I was not adopted, right? So I can't say that I can say that I had any experience with it. But for people, let me back up. So the book you have here, even though you're a woman and you wrote it from your experience, would the book apply to either men or women?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Because it comes down to identity and who we really are. And that really just bridges both men and women.
Right. Yeah. Have you had anybody that has read the book that then reached out to you and then almost like wanted further clarity or counsel from you?
Not as yet. Not as yet.
Okay. I could totally see that happening. One of the chapters I touched on was sonship, which is not a lot of people take the time to really think about what that is and how it applies to them. Do you want to share what it is and how it applied to you?
Well, oftentimes when we become believers, accept Jesus into our hearts, we think that salvation that's it. We've arrived. This is what we need. Nothing wrong with that. However, it just goes so much further than that, and understanding who we really are. Yes, God is our Father, but what He has always had for each one of us is we're His kids. So, I mean, Jesus was a son. He was the perfect example on what it is to live in sonship. Everything comes from the Father. But it's challenging for a lot of us, myself included, I had a wonderful and loving parent, my father, that adopted me. However, in the process of asking questions as a child, I was told, when I asked, well, where's my father in this? Where's my parents? And at the time I was told that the father didn't want me. And it was having to do with the culture. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But as a child, just about anything your parents talk to you about, you take as truth. So for me, that opened up the door to rejection. Well, clearly my biological father isn't here. I've got a different father. But he didn't want me, my biological father. So then he was rejecting me.
Wow.
So I carried that into my heart. It opened up and went into my heart and carried that. And that affected everything, my entire life, because it's hard to compartmentalize something that at the core like that, and not have it touch everything. Along with that comes what they call the orphan spirit. So
Yep.
we're living like we don't have a father, but we've always had a father in heaven. But it's hard sometimes to relate to our father as father in heaven. We know, we believe in God, and we know he sits on the throne and he loves us, but to relate to him in the way of you would relate to a father, if you have father issues, that's very challenging. So again, I had a wonderful biological father, but I still carried this spirit of rejection.
Yeah.
And then the orphan spirit got in there. And they usually go hand in hand. So my quest has been to understand really and truly who I was so I could relate to God as Father, just like Jesus related to him as
Right.
Father.
Yeah. And not only so like who you were, but whose you are.
Correct. Yes, correct.
What's interesting is a parent, a natural parent that you're born through can actually give up the child. But when you're adopted, legally, they cannot give you up. That's just so fascinating, right? And it's you know, like scripture talks about how we've been adopted, and it's basically like our Father in heaven is like, you know, hey, you're now my son, you're now my daughter. And I don't know if you can all hear it, but we've got, as Robby and I are talking, the heavens have opened up and the rain is just pounding down outside. So maybe you can't, we got noise reduction on it, but it's just fascinating that the intensity of it is happening while we're talking about our daddy. So you talked about your origin or your native. You're Colombian,
Correct.
right? And so you not only have the book here, which is available in English, but you intentionally had it translated to Colombian Spanish.
Yes.
And you were sharing, I don't want you to talk about this a little bit more, but you were sharing about it isn't like word for word translation, because there's not just the comprehension of a culture, but the contexts of it too. So like, what was that process?
Well, it was challenging because while my mother tongue is Colombian Spanish, I know very little Spanish. And so I grew up here in the United States, and that's all I know is the English here. So when I wrote my book, there would be phrases and different things that I would use or refer to that didn't necessarily translate or was not understood by the Colombian translator.
Yeah.
And so it was quite a fascinating process. It actually caused me to stop and think about some of the language I use and how I use it. And never thinking, it was just writing it because that's how I talk, but not really realizing that a lot of those things, as you said, just don't translate into another language. So my the young woman that translated my book for me then would ask me certain questions, like, what does this mean? What is that phrase about? And it was really good because it caused me to pause and think about things, and even just perhaps my writing in general. But then then I was able to explain to her, and then she would translate it in such a way that the people that spoke Spanish would understand exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think that's important that the audience, because you weren't just writing a book to write a book, you're writing a book so that you could help be an example or provide a tool for others to read and come to a place of healing, recognizing like what they're maybe struggling with and they can't put maybe words to, and go, that's it, that's what I needed to hear, right? And it wouldn't work so well if the Spanish speaking or reading community was reading it and it had content in there that didn't apply as clearly to them. So I think that was very very wise to go through that process. So your book is available in English and in Spanish.
Correct.
Where can people find your book?
On Amazon.
Okay, just strictly on Amazon.
Correct.
Okay, and we'll put all that again in below in the comments, like where to find the book, how to reach out to Robby and get contact with her, etc. I could see you, if you haven't yet, being invited to speak on this. Choke up again. But I think it's a people talk about it, but again, because I haven't walked through it, I can only relate at arm's distance. But I think people that are like wanting to have that intimate conversation with somebody and share something at a heart level, and then have someone like you acknowledge them, empathize with them, would be, and I not just would be, I really feel like it's going to happen.
And even to go so far as to validate their feelings.
Yes, yeah.
Because if you've not been adopted, like as you said, you can only relate intellectually, not from an emotional position. And so having been adopted, there is a credibility that now I can speak to people that adopted. Now, everybody has different life situations at home and how they came to learn about adoption or not. My parents told me before I even knew what the word was that I was adopted, because they wanted to familiarize me with the word. So then when I got old enough, they explained what that really meant. Again, you have to be very careful when sharing with children, is it age appropriate? Because while you understand it, doesn't mean they'll understand it.
Right.
And have to be very sensitive. And so that the book also addresses this. But it was, I've had people tell me, even reading this, that says, you know what, this is really a book on identity. It's not just about being adopted. That was my focus. But again, we're all searching for identity. If we don't already know, we're searching.
Yeah.
And God wants us to know whose we are, as you said. And it's a game changer when we come to the realization and revelation of, oh my gosh, He is really my Father in heaven. And that in and of itself can heal so many wounds. Again, a process, but He could also do it instantly, because He's a miracle worker.
Right.
But there's something about the process, at least for me, I had to go through the process of it. But my whole thing was, that was my journey. I didn't want to I didn't want to stop, because I wanted that. I needed that. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so good. How long do you think this book, even before you maybe even knew you were going to write a book, how long was it in you?
Probably, I think I started probably 25, 30 years ago, that I knew this book was in me. I carried something.
Yeah.
I dragged my feet for many years, but I'm glad I did, in the sense that who I am today compared to who I was 25, 30 years ago, it's a different book than it would have been. It's a better book. It's a book full of truth, an understanding of wisdom and revelation that I would not have had that way.
Yeah.
So, but one thing I do want to address, Graham Cook, who is a well-known and well-respected prophet, told me something once when I had proceeded to tell him that I was an orphan. When he asked me some background about myself, he looked at me and he said, perhaps God wants to talk to you about spiritual adoption and not legal adoption.
Yeah.
Well, like a true prophet, if it's really a good word from the Lord, goes in to your spirit. Now, it took me about 9 years to unpack that, to really understand and to get it, but it went in.
Yeah.
He was right.
Yeah.
He was right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Graham, if you watch this, check this out. I don't have any shoes on.
Oh, that's funny.
He gets it. The
Yeah.
rest of the audience is unless you go hear him and you see him in person, then you know.
Yes, yeah, if you know,
okay.
you know.
So yeah, in here you have your forward has been done by Graham Cook,
Yes.
and that's really excellent. You also have quite a few endorsements in here. Some I know, some I don't, but Bill do. Very precious, close friend, also, 20 years. And he gives you a really nice, loving, just heartfelt endorsement. You have his wife, Kathleen Dew, another just beautiful person, and Jane Goodell. I mean, it's just, you got Mike and Georgette O'Brien, know them. I know of Chris Mingle, but I don't know Chris. The others I do, and Roy Cochran. But just really nice endorsements, all align. I was reading through these. They all truly align to the Robby that I know. And okay, this is crazy. So like we were talking about the rain, you can't see the amount of hail behind us. And they were asking about was a lightning thunder here, and we're talking, and it's just like the heavens open, in the background, and this is like
There's your answer right there.
there's your answer. It's like, it looks like it snowed. It's just white all over okay. And it's summer. It seems like we're doing this as a summer. Or late spring. I think it's late spring, but it was like, what was 2 days ago? It was 90 or 100 degrees.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have another book in you?
I do.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Do you have an idea of do you want to share, if you do, like what maybe the content might be?
I could share a little bit.
Okay.
I'm still in the process of writing it, but it's more of a lighthearted book compared to this one, which was good, but this was a very heavy, challenging book for me to write when it's emotional driven and from the heart. But the next book I have is really just a fun, lighthearted book, and it's about a walking trail. And there's one walking trail that I live in San Diego, and this is something I walk on almost every day and have for about 6 years. And one day I began to notice that there was community and things going on just within the people, and there were pets, mostly dogs, on the trail. When I started to notice it, I thought, oh, this would be really fun to write about. Something, like I said, something very light-hearted and hopefully funny at different times,
Right.
But it's a creative outlet. I think we talked about that.
Yeah, I think it's, as you touched on that last night, we were talking about, you can do things that are, serious, and, but don't neglect allowing yourself to have the opportunity to do things that are just fun and or funny, whether you do something with them or not. And maybe if you look through some of my other videos, you'll see I made some to learn from, and I didn't intend to actually push them out there or drop them, as they call it in YouTube. But I did, just because they were funny. Like, why not? Like, who cares? This is my channel. Right? So
True, that's true.
right? That's awesome. That is just awesome. Definitely looking forward to seeing your next book come out.
Oh, thank you.
And I think what we'll do is we'll find a way, either if we're not in person, there's ways you can do it online, where you split the screen or whatever, but to help promote your next book. But
Thank you.
I would just say, if you are a person, regardless of age, man or woman, and you have been adopted, and you're struggling with your identity, and whose you really are, and you're looking for that, I don't want to say closure, but more like true, deep emotional healing of your heart, and so you can just lay that down and then move on whole. A Chosen Child is most assuredly a book you should seek out, buy, and read, and then maybe even when you're done, share what it did for you with others that have walked through that. So Thank you all for listening to this. Thank you, Robby, for your time and just being a very dear friend to Donna and I. And
Thank you. Appreciate that.
we look forward to what the Lord has for you next.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Remember, get your fix. And if you liked watching this video, there's different videos with different interviews. Some are businesses, some are not. But it's more about just sharing conversation over a cup of coffee and just being blessed. So thank you all. Subscribe if you're interested in following us, and have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.